Nice.
So what are your aspirations now? And I know that I'm kind of jumping ahead, but this is a big endeavor.
Yes.
So what are your aspirations when it comes? How do you want to use your degree? For what purposes? For what vision? For what values?
At first, I think I was in school just to please my parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to say, like, hey, Mom, like, I got it. And this is what, this is what you pushed for so long. Like, here it is. And I think after high school, I'm like, this is all I get. It's just like a little half piece of paper. I'm like, this is not so little. It's like, this was the big accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I was like, oh, well, it's not too bad and everything. But receiving my bachelor's degree and being online, I shared the news with social media, and I added some statistics because to me it was huge, you know, and as a first generation Mexican, like Hispanic woman, the statistics are
low.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when I called my mom and I told her, she's like, oh, that's good. I was like,
that's it.
So I was like, thanks. And I hung up and cried. So I was like, well, that's not the reaction I wanted.
Yeah.
But then I had to like stop myself from diving into that hole. Cause I was like, this is not an accomplishment for her.
Right.
This is an accomplishment for me. And regardless of how she feels, maybe she doesn't realize it yet. I was like, I have to give her time. I know how much work and struggle and like how like effort I put into this.
Yeah.
So I think that was like one of my first like, oh, I'm people pleasing again. Like I was like, I have to stop. And it's very hard because I feel like it comes natural to me.
Yeah.
But that's my school right now. My mom actually got a few phone calls from relatives, and it's like, oh yeah, are you guys having a party for her? Like she graduated and everything. And then my mom was like, wait, what? Huh?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, like this is big and everything. So then my mom called me back. We had this whole conversation, and then she's like, and then she turned it around and she was like, well, if you would have started when you first started, you would have been done a long time ago. And I was like,
it's like a compliment that a stab.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's always like that.
Yeah.
And before it used to motivate me.
Okay.
Now I'm just like, it hurts.
It hurts.
And I'm like, do I take it and not talk about it? And then it's hard for me to bring it up to them because I don't want them to feel bad.
Yes.
I don't. want
you're
to hurt
stuck
them.
between the rock and the hard place.
Yes.
Like they are your parents. Traditionally,
I know they mean well.
I know they're coming from a good place. Traditionally, you have to always respect your parents.
Yes.
But they're making you feel a way that brings up all wounds. And that's a really tough spot.
My therapist says I should talk to them about it. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure I want to, just because I feel like I will cause them hurt. But then I also feel like if I do, I'm just going to cry the whole time. But I will probably feel better, and it will actually make them understand why I feel or how I feel when they say certain things. And it might be hard for them to change because, they've done this.
This is their life. This has been their life.
So I have to also learn to be okay with it when it comes out like as a natural reaction.
You can't, it's almost like you can't have expectations on people. I mean, I know that's hard, but yeah.
But this is one thing that you're doing right now that from what I'm seeing and hearing is the fact that you're not holding resentment or hatred towards them. You are internalizing this thing and understanding that this is something that I have to deal with. And as much as I would like them to treat me differently, I know that I can't force them to it, even though I should eventually talk to them about it in a way that is constructive.
Yes.
But you don't have any resentment or hatred towards them.
No, and I think it's because I understand the way they grew up and that they did better than what they were brought up. So honestly, it's nothing that they could have gotten perfect right off the bat because, I mean, who gets everything?
Of course.
Right. And they did the best they could at the time that they could.
With what they had.
Yeah. So just understanding that and understanding that they did do better from what they grew up with is okay with me.
So you knowing this now, right? You understanding that, because again, on a personal level, that is something that I had to be able to overcome. To be able to know that my self-confidence and what my parents, my mom did, and my dad, they only did it because this is what they knew. And I had to go past that to continue to, create a path that is individual me, still deal with them, not hurt them, love them, and care for them, but know that the scars that I have can no longer affect me. How do you mitigate that as you go forward? How do you deal with that, knowing that this is what they did? I get it, why, but I want to be a better person and I still want to live my life. How do you do that?
A lot of that is having my own conversations in my head, kind of reassuring, just telling myself this is not what they mean. This is, they don't realize it, or okay, for me, this is your trigger. Don't react the normal way you would. They don't understand. You understand that why they are saying these things, or why, they are reacting this way. So how do I move forward from this? And then it's also how do I say, do I want to change the way it makes me feel, or do I want to keep playing victim with myself?
Correct.
So a lot of that is just okay, I know they mean well, and even though I'm getting backhanded compliments, do I want to feel this way?
Yeah.
So as soon as I'm okay, whatever, it doesn't bother me, I brush it off, and I'm okay, I know eventually, I'm going to have a conversation with both of them and explain it to them, and explain my process, and tell them, what, I know this might be hard, but I've moving past it, and I'm getting past this to a point where it's not affecting me like it did before.
Yeah.
And I think having those conversations will help them understand and kind of help them redirect themselves.
Yeah.
But also just knowing that I will be at a point where I can take those backhanded compliments without feeling how I used to feel.